Chapter 467, Boxing Gloves, 1. Divine Realm, Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Bang. 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 The golden puppet was activated, and it seemed to only lock onto one target. He waved his fists and continuously attacked the hot shot from earlier. Under the attack of the golden puppet, the aura of the hot shot became weaker and weaker. It looked like he would not be able to hold on any longer. In midair, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty looked at the cultivator wielding the fiery red saber and shook his head. "I'm going to lose." The hot shot held a fiery red saber and looked at the golden puppet in front of him. He cursed in his heart. "Damn it, why is this guy getting stronger and stronger?" After being hit by the golden puppet's fists, blood kept flowing out of the corners of the hot shot cultivator's mouth. Following that, the golden puppet's fist glowed with a golden light as it punched at the hot shot cultivator. Bang! The hot shot cultivator was hit by the golden puppet's punch and spat out a mouthful of blood. His figure landed on the ground. Seeing this cultivator's fate, the other cultivators present all looked at each other in dismay. Looking at the puppets at the first checkpoint, they were all a little wary. Following that, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty also flew out. "Let me try." The third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty shot out. Then a powerful shock wave from his body smashed into the golden puppet. Bang! After being struck by the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, the puppet was sent flying. At the same time, the hot shots present started whispering. With the third prince taking action, we can also take a look at the puppet's strength. Yes, it's all thanks to the third prince. Then, the puppet that was attacked by the third prince also stood up from the ground. His eyes shone with a golden light. He looked at the third prince in the air and shot out. The golden puppet's fist was covered in a golden light as it punched towards the third prince. The Sacred Dragon Empire looked at the golden puppets that were coming at them, and a fighting spirit rose from their bodies. A dragon's roar rang out from his body. Following that, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty also swung his palm at him. Bang! When the fist and palm collided, a series of explosions sounded in the air. Then, everyone saw the golden puppet fly out. They fell to the ground and turned into pieces. Meanwhile, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty was also looking at his palm. There was some black fog slowly emerging in his hand. As expected, he was still using the materials here. After saying this in his heart, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty also said to the hot shots below, "Everyone'll make a move first." Then, under the gazes of the Chosen One, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty turned into a stream of light. He flew up to the second level. As for the hot shots, they looked at the golden puppets on the ground that had already been shattered into pieces and looked at each other. Following that, he sighed. As expected of the third prince. "It seems like this golden puppet isn't invincible. How about we go over and give it a try?" Following that, the hot shots also moved to attack the golden puppet. Meanwhile, Kling Yun and Bai Yi from the Azure Sword Pavilion saw the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty in the limelight. Naturally, he was not willing to fall behind. His figure flew out with a shio sound. He also fought with a golden puppet. Just like that, in the battle between the hot shots and the golden puppet. After the exploration of the hot shots, the old man's cultivation base had been upgraded. Some hot shots also discovered the use of the black substance. They took the initiative to absorb the black substance in the air into their true essence. Following that, the hot shots also discovered that under the effect of the black substance, the golden puppets were more likely to fall. After Qing Yun from the Green Sword Pavilion and Bai Yi from the Flowing Cloud sect used this method to kill the golden puppet in front of them, they were all stunned. Just like the third prince of the Saint Dragon Dynasty, he went to the second level. Fu Qian stood at the side, watching the cultivators fighting with the golden puppet in front of him. His eyes narrowed slightly as he watched these cultivators use the black substance. Some kind of luck on his body was slowly flowing away. These things are indeed not that simple. Fu Tian muttered to himself when he saw the black substance. Then he flew out and arrived in front of a puppet. Fu Tian also punched the golden puppet. Bang! Just like the others, the golden puppet was hit by Fu Tian. His eyes also began to shine as he attacked Fu Tian. Looking at the golden puppet that was charging at him, Fu Tian also exchanged a punch with it. Bang! After colliding with the golden puppet's fist, Fu Tian's body also retreated. Looking at the golden puppet in front of him, he began to make some judgments. It seemed that this puppet was just as he had guessed. The power of the first punch was the weakest. Following that, Fu Tian continued to fight with the golden puppet. During the battle with the golden puppet, Fu Tian also realized that it was as the first hotshot cultivator had said. The combat power of the golden puppet would increase with the battle. Then try this. Looking at the golden puppet in front of him, Fu Qian also put the fist that Xiao Changtian gave him on his own hand. Xiao Changtian had already prepared all kinds of weapons in the courtyard. Naturally, he had prepared a lot for Fu Qian. Among the many weapons, Fu Tian chose a glove to wear. After putting on his fist, Fu Qian once again exchanged a punch with the golden puppet. Bang! In this collision, the golden puppet's body was also sent flying. It was the same outcome as the puppet that had clashed with the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. His body turned into pieces and fell to the ground. It seems that Master has long been prepared. Just now, Fu Tian did not have any good ideas to deal with this golden puppet. In the end, he decided to take out the gloves that Xiao Changtian had given him. Perhaps it would be effective. Looking at the fragments of the golden puppet on the ground, Fu Tian did not stay any longer. With a swoosh, he turned into a stream of light and flew up to the second level. It would be very difficult to obtain anything related to the black substance if he stayed on the first level. If he wanted to investigate it clearly, he still had to go to the second level to take a look. At this moment, on the floating island of the Drunken Immortal Pavilion, Xiao Changtian looked at the image in the bronze mirror and said to the divine eye beside him, "Senior, the gloves I made are pretty good, right?" Initially, when he saw the hotshot holding a large saber and being defeated by the golden puppet, he was shocked. Xiao Changtian was still a little worried. After all, he was just a mortal. He didn't know what kind of weapon he had. He did not expect that once Fu Qian used it, he would actually defeat the puppet with a single punch. Chapter 468, Second Level White Mist Saber-Toothed Tiger. _L Divine Realm, floating island above the Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Hearing Xiao Changshan's words, the divine eye also smiled at him. Then he slowly placed the chess piece in his hand down. Looking at Xiao Changtian, his face darkened. Then the divine eye also looked at Fu Qian in the bronze mirror. A pair of eyes that were close to the top of his head emitted a ray of light as he looked at Fu Qian in the bronze mirror. Looking at the boxing gloves on Fu Qian's hands, a glimmer of light flashed in the divine eyes. He actually couldn't see any clues from the glove. However, he could sense a dangerous glow from it. More importantly, he could feel the rejection of dark matter from the gloves. The dark substance was his trump card to deal with Providence. Then the divine eye slowly said to Xiao Changtian, "Not bad, not bad." Xiao Changtian smiled when he heard the divine eye's words. Then, just like the divine eye, they looked into the copper mirror. At this moment, in the bronze mirror, Fu Qian, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, Qing Yun, Bai Yi, and the group of hotshots all looked at the scene around them. White mist floated around them. The fog blocked people's vision, and the hotshots immediately realized that the visibility between cultivators had decreased greatly. Then a terrified voice rang out from the crowd. "There's poison in this fog." The hotshot cultivator shouted. He sensed that the true essence in his body was slowly stopping. Fu Qian also released his spiritual sense and observed the situation around him. In his perception, the dark substance in the air was gradually increasing. And this white mist seemed to complement him. When the white fog invaded the cultivator's body, it seemed that it could only be resolved by using dark substances. Look closely, this dark substance is indeed the key to this Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Fu Qian looked at the void in front of him and muttered, "Ah!" A scream slowly sounded among the cultivators. Brr, brr, brr. Then everyone heard the sounds of demon beasts. Demonic beasts, demonic beasts. In the crowd, the terrified voices of the hot shots continued to ring out. Blood splattered everywhere. "This is a saber-toothed tiger, a saber-toothed tiger." Some of the hot shots who were nearby slowly said when they saw the appearance of the demon beasts. As for Qing Yun, Bai Yi, Fu Tian, and the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty, the moment the scream sounded, his figure had already flown into the air. At this moment, in their eyes, there were figures flashing past under the white fog below. Qing Yun looked at the white fog below and muttered, "Looks like the test of the second level is like a beast tide. However, this sword tiger is not so easy to deal with." Demonic beasts like the saber-toothed tiger are legendary existences. I didn't expect to encounter them here today. I wonder if you have a way to deal with these saber-toothed tigers. The third prince of the kingdom of the sacred dragon slowly said to Qing Yun when he heard this. Among the few people present, he was the only one who belonged to the divine world. The others all came from the lower realm. The third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty looked at them with a hint of arrogance in his eyes. The cultivators below saw the third prince and the others of the sacred dragon dynasty who were safe and sound in midair. They also flew in their direction. Look at the sky, those demonic beasts don't seem to be able to fly. A cultivator said happily. Then with a whoosh he flew into the air. The cultivator flew into the air and dodged the disaster. The rest of the cultivators also flew into the air. Damn it. When the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty saw the cultivators rushing over, he cursed in his heart. As these cultivators continued to surge up, the saber-toothed tigers below all gathered together and looked at the cultivators above with fierce expressions. Bang! A powerful and violent aura exploded in the air. The group of hot shots covered their faces. At this moment, an energy barrier had already slowly risen around the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty. It slowly wrapped him in it. Whoever dares to come over, die. The cold voice of the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty slowly sounded in the crowd of hot shots. Following the voice of the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty, the group of hot shots who wanted to continue squeezing up stopped in their tracks. They could sense a murderous aura from the barrier around the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty. They had no doubt that as long as they stepped forward, they would definitely be attacked by the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty. When the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty released the barrier around his body, Qing Yun and Bai Yi also imitated him and released a protective barrier around themselves. Qing Yun and Bai Yi were also outstanding among the cultivators. Those hot shots originally wanted to go over. When he saw their protective shields, he also stopped in his tracks. Seeing their situation, the group of cultivators also looked at their companions below. Qing Yun, the white-robed cultivator, we originally wanted to rely on them to help us reach another level. Now it seems that I was too naive back then. That's right. We thought that they would take care of us because we were all from the lower realm. I didn't expect it to be like this. At this moment, the group of cultivators began to complain. Ah! Waves of miserable cries rang out from below. The weaker cultivators below also died under the siege of the saber-toothed tiger. At this moment, Qing Yun, who was standing in midair, slowly spoke to the cultivators below. You can feel the dark substance in the air, right? We can use them to eliminate the effects of the white fog. Qing Yun said casually. Then, he closed his eyes and did not continue speaking. When he had just arrived at the second level, Qing Yun had thought of the time when he had dealt with the golden puppet on the first level. When he arrived at the second level and saw the white fog, he was stunned. Instinctively, he absorbed the dark substance into his body. He discovered that the dark substance and the white fog could cancel each other out. The reason why the cultivators below were killed so quickly was also because of their vision. Under the effect of the white fog, their vision was greatly hindered. Otherwise, he would not have died so quickly under the siege of the saber-toothed tigers. Hearing Qing Yun's words, the faces of the other cultivators lit up. They absorbed the dark substance in the air into their bodies and immediately found that their vision had widened. When Fuqian saw them, his eyes began to shine. Chapter 469. Fuqian makes a move. 1. Divine Realm. On the floating island above the drunken immortal restaurant at this moment, Xiao Changtian sighed in his heart. He heard the screams of cultivators in the second level of drunken immortal Lu. As expected, the strong preyed on the weak in the cultivation world. Those cultivators would not care about the life and death of their companions at all. And this white fog, he could not see anything at all. Seeing Xiao Changshan's gloomy expression, the divine eye on the side couldn't help smiling. He had also placed a large amount of dark material in the second floor. Under Qing Yun's guidance just now, the dark matter that was absorbed into his body. It had already begun to absorb the luck in the bodies of the hot shots. If this continued, their Elysium's plan would not be affected too much. At this moment, on the second floor of the drunken immortal restaurant, Fu Tian also saw the cultivators who were constantly fighting against the saber-toothed tigers. Master must have sent me here to deal with this dark material. He couldn't let them continue like this. Let's go, Fu Tian said in his heart. Then he also shot out and rushed towards the saber-toothed tiger. In front of people, the white fog might cause visual obstruction to others. However, the white fog did not seem to have any effect on Fu Tian. A ray of golden light appeared on Fu Tian's hand and slowly appeared on the head of a saber-toothed tiger. Bang! Fu Tian threw a punch at the saber-toothed tiger's head. For a moment, the saber-toothed tiger's body seemed to have been hit by an irresistible force. His body fell in front of everyone with a swoosh. Looking at the fallen saber-toothed tiger, the group of cultivators were stunned. Then they all looked at Fu Tian. Who is this? Looking at Fu Tian, the cultivators were all shocked. Could it be that kid who walked in? One of the cultivators could clearly tell that Fu Tian's figure was somewhat familiar. After all, when they entered the Drunken Immortals building, Fu Qian had slowly walked in alone. The others all flew in, but he walked in alone. It was hard not to notice. They saw that Fu Qian could actually kill a saber-toothed tiger with a single punch. These cultivators were extremely shocked. Fu Tian ignored the gazes and sighs of the others and flashed. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of another saber-toothed tiger. He also punched down, followed by a bang. The entire saber-toothed tiger's head was bleeding. Seeing that Fu Qian had killed another saber-toothed tiger with a single punch, the cultivators looked at each other in dismay. They all understood something. Immediately after, they all flew towards Fu Qian. As these cultivators approached, the saber-toothed tigers also roared angrily. He wanted to kill his way past Fu Qian. In the eyes of the saber-toothed tigers, any cultivator was their target. Fu Tian looked at the group of saber-toothed tigers that were about to attack him and ignored the cultivators who ran behind him. In his opinion, this group of cultivators had helped him gather the saber-toothed tiger. He still had to thank them properly. With this thought in mind, Fu Qian slowly condensed his true essence on his hands. A golden light was also emitted from his hand. Sensing the powerful aura in Fu Qian's hand, the hot shots slowly said, "Looks like we were all mistaken. He's the one who's truly hiding his resistance." That's right. With this brother we seem to be saved. We're both people from the lower realm, but why is the difference so huge? Some cultivators in the crowd also began to mutter. Qing Yun and Bai Yi, who were in midair, heard the words of the cultivators below. Bai Yi's expression did not show any reaction. Her idea was very simple. She wanted the hot shots below to wear down the strength of the saber-toothed tigers as much as possible. She could also kill a saber-toothed tiger. However, there were too many of them. It would still be troublesome to fight. Moreover, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty in Qing Yun had not made a move. Qing Yun, on the other hand, was Fu Qian, who was below. A hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. It was not luck that he could reach this step today. He relied on his sword Dao that did not stop killing. After discovering Fu Qian's strength, Qing Yun also wanted to fight him. After all, he couldn't tell what Fu Qian's strength was like now. Brr, brr, brr. Amidst the roars of the saber-toothed tigers, the group of saber-toothed tigers also attacked Fu Qian. Bang, bang, bang. Looking at the incoming group of saber-toothed tigers, Fu Tian also swung his fists. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Under Fu Qian's attack, golden fists appeared in the air. With the help of the gloves made by Xiao Chang Tian, the golden fist contained a strange power. Bang, bang, bang. The fist collided with the saber-toothed tigers. In an instant, the saber-toothed tigers also arrived. They could not reach Fu Qian at all. Seeing the scene in front of them, the cultivators of Fu Qian's sect looked at each other. Mighty, mighty. Those cultivators had escaped death because of Fu Qian, who was in front of them. At this moment, they no longer had the same goal in their hearts. Most of all, he was afraid of his own death. After entering the drunken immortal restaurant, the cultivators first encountered the strange golden puppet. Then he came to the second level and encountered a group of saber-toothed tigers. The saber-toothed tiger was a legendary divine beast. They had seen it before. He had never heard of it before. If he continued to walk up, he would definitely be in danger. At this time, some cultivators also began to form cliques to seek self-protection. Some cultivators even walked up to Fu Qian trying to form an alliance with him. Not interested. Fu Qian looked at the cultivators in front of him and said indifferently. In his eyes, he was only trying to complete Xiao Changshan's test by dealing with the saber-toothed tiger. As for helping those cultivators, he was just doing it in passing. Those cultivators who wanted to rope in Fu Qian's side when they saw Fu Qian reject them. However, they could understand that their strength was negligible in the eyes of Fu Qian. On the other hand, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, who was in the sky, looked down at Fu Qian with a gloomy expression. At the same time, on the floating island, Xiao Changtian could still see Fu Qian's figure under the layers of white fog. He realized that Fu Qian was showing off his might in front of those tigers. He was also happy in his heart, even though he didn't teach anyone to cultivate. However, those boxing gloves and whatnot were still enough to deal with some tigers in the forest. Xiao Changtian didn't know how that Fu Qian had done it. Anyway, the white fog drifted here and there. When he saw Fu Qian, those tigers had already fallen. The divine eye looked at Fu Qian in the bronze mirror, and a murderous look appeared in its eyes. Chapter 470, Divine Eye Technique, 1. Divine Realm. Above the floating island of the drunken immortal restaurant, the divine eye sat on the throne and looked at the bronze mirror in front of it. His eyes revealed a terrifying light. This kid. Staring at Fuqian in the bronze mirror, the divine eye said slowly in its heart. On the second floor of the Drunken Immortal restaurant, he originally planned to let those cultivators use the dark substance to deal with the saber-toothed tiger. He did not expect Fuqian to disrupt his plans. This pair of gloves. Staring at the boxing gloves on Fuqian's hands, the divine eye also knew. The reason why Fuqian could defeat so many saber-toothed tigers was because of his fists. After all, the divine eye didn't think that a cultivator who didn't even know how to fly could be so powerful. He looked at Fuqian, who was still chasing after the saber-toothed tiger in the bronze mirror. At this rate, he would soon be able to finish off all the saber-toothed tigers by himself. With this thought in mind, the eyes of the divine eye slowly emitted a ray of light. Since that was the case, he could only do so. At the same time that the divine eye's gaze lit up, it naturally attracted the attention of Di Tian and the others who were sitting behind. In their perception, the divine eye seemed to be unleashing its ultimate move. But looking at Xiao Changtian in front of him and the situation in the bronze mirror, he was shocked. He looked as if he was at ease. Their somewhat anxious hearts also calmed down. Senior is so calm. It seems that everything is still under Senior's control. Senior didn't seem to mind what the divine eye did at all. They thought so. They followed Xiao Changtian and did not do anything. Xiao Changtian looked at Fuqian in the bronze mirror and sighed in his heart. It was a pity that he didn't bring Fuqian to hunt. From the looks of it, he had already killed many tigers. He wondered if he could bring it back and put it in the courtyard. It could also be considered as adding food reserves to his courtyard. At this moment, Xiao Changtian said to the divine eye beside him, "Senior, I wonder if I can bring back my disciples' spoils of war." As he spoke, the demon beast Xiao Changtian smiled. He had long heard that cultivators didn't need to eat and could abstain from eating. However, if those tigers died, he should not waste them. It would be better to bring them back. When the divine eye heard Xiao Changshan's words, it turned around and saw Xiao Changtian smiling. He slowly replied, "If you have the ability, of course you can." This was a provocation. At this moment, the divine eye also saw through Xiao Changshan's intention. This person must have seen through the secret of the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Otherwise, why would he arrange for his disciple to enter? He even used this unknown boxing glove to cause such a huge obstacle to his plan. Damn it, he had just been played. But fortunately, he looked at the mirror and comforted himself. Just now he had also issued an order. He slowly broke through all the checkpoints in the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Those checkpoints were originally set up to slowly devour the luck of those hot shots. He didn't want them to notice anything strange. However, after discovering that Fuqian had repeatedly ruined his plans, the divine eye could not care so much anymore. He directly broke through all the checkpoints, and the demon beasts and high-grade puppets hidden above slowly walked down. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, in the Drunken Immortal restaurant, the group of hot shots only felt their feet tremble. Then they all looked towards the second level's checkpoint. From there, they could feel an extremely dangerous aura. It was as if something terrifying was about to happen. At this time, Fuqian also slowly looked towards the second level. At that place, Fuqian looked at the checkpoint and frowned. In his perception, there were countless demon beasts slowly attacking from above. Meanwhile, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, Qin Yun, and Bai Yi had already landed on the ground. In their perception, they could also sense danger. At this moment, a hotshot cultivator also saw the second level. A huge palm slowly appeared. Bang! His palm was as tall as a human, and as he raised it, an eye appeared in the center of his palm. This is the Fudi Eye Tree. If he sees it, he will be brought into an endless illusion. The cultivator's terrified voice sounded in the crowd. Then, under everyone's gaze, new monsters appeared from the second level. At this moment, some cultivators wanted to run to the back. Can we not participate in this test? Seeing all kinds of monsters coming at them menacingly, some of the cultivators wanted to retreat. At this moment, a voice shouted from the crowd. Everyone be quiet. Don't panic. The dark substance can strengthen us. Don't be in a hurry. Qin Yun shouted at the crowd when he saw that the entrance had been sealed. It was basically impossible for them to return the way they came. However, in the face of so many monsters, it was obviously impossible to clear the game by himself. Moreover, he, Bai Yi, Fuqian, and the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty could also sense it. Something must have happened at this checkpoint of the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Otherwise, how could something come down from above? At this moment, in the eyes of Xiao Changtian on the floating island, he could only see the white mist in the bronze mirror. Everything else was blurry. Alright, he would have to wait and see the methods of these immortal cultivators. As Xiao Changtian thought this, he changed his posture. The divine eyes on the side saw that Xiao Changtian was still as calm as ever. From the looks of it, he did not become nervous because of the changes in the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Looking at his posture, he seemed to have become more relaxed. As for Di Tian and the others, they could sense the situation in the Drunken Immortal Inn and followed the demonic beasts down. The density of the dark matter here could be said to have reached an extreme. Di Tian and the others could tell that this dark substance wasn't simple. This was probably the purpose of the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Moreover, from the looks of it, these things seemed to have a great absorption effect on the fate of those hot shots. At this moment, Di Tian was also quietly casting a sacred art. In his eyes, the vitality of the hot shots who used the dark substance had clearly decreased. This divine eye. Di Tian stared at the divine eye with an unfriendly gaze. However, he still felt that there was no problem with Fuqian. Just like before, he could not see the limits of his talent at all. From the looks of it, everything was still under Senior's control. When Senior came, he had everything under control. Upon seeing Xiao Changtian sitting in a slanted position, Di Tian was even more certain of this. He also felt more at ease in his heart. Chapter 471, Drunken Immortal Restaurants Battle 1, 1v7 Divine Realm. Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Fu Tian looked at the densely packed demonic beasts and monsters in front of him. These demonic beasts all carried a ferocious aura. What should we do? Are we going to die here? When those hot shots saw that the path they came from had already disappeared, some of them began to speak in despair. Before coming to the divine world, they were all one of the best geniuses in the lower realm where they were. They came to the divine world to obtain greater opportunities, not to lose their lives. No, young master is still here. Some female cultivators looked at Fuqian in front of them with a glimmer of hope in their eyes. When they encountered the saber-toothed tiger and were in danger, it was Fuqian who stepped forward. Now that they had encountered so many demonic beasts and monsters, they hoped that Fuqian would continue to attack. Hearing this, everyone looked in the direction of Fuqian. Seeing that Fuqian did not move, some cultivators slowly said, "Young master could defeat the saber-toothed tiger just now, but now there are many more demon beasts and monsters than before. With young master's strength he might not be their match." That's right. After all, even the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty, Qumjiyun, and Bai Yi could only temporarily avoid the edge in front of this group of monsters. Following the cries for help and dejected words of these cultivators, the demon beasts and monsters also attacked the hot shots. Bang, bang, bang. When the hot shots collided with the demon beasts and monsters, layers of air waves were immediately emitted. Following that, streams of blood splattered in the air. The smell of blood soon filled the air. Third Prince Yu, a cultivator's frightened voice sounded in the air. Then, everyone saw a cultivator's figure fly past in the air. Following that, everyone turned to look at the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty. At this moment, the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty had true essence in his hands. Looking at the cultivator who had just been pushed away by him, there was no ripple in his eyes. Facing so many monsters, if they wanted to clear the level quickly, they naturally had to rely on the strength of these cultivators. How could he let them run away? At this moment, the cultivator who had just died was also killed by a demon beast monster. Everyone looked at the third prince of the sacred dragon empire with fear in their eyes. No one would walk in his direction now. At this moment, a few more figures flew out. The cultivators who were close to Qing Yun and Bai Yi also flew out. I advise everyone, the dark matter in the air can increase your strength. Everyone, it's best for you to deal with the enemy properly. Don't think about leaving. Qing Yun's indifferent voice slowly sounded among the hot shots. These cultivators originally wanted the protection of the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty, Qing Yun, and Bai Yi. After all, the three of them had killed a few demon beasts and monsters. He didn't expect her to be as cold-blooded and heartless as before. At this moment, those divorce papers had no choice but to grit their teeth. Absorbing the dark matter in the air, they charged forward. Knowing that they could not escape, they had no choice but to fight. On the other hand, the cultivators who walked near Fuqian did not attack them. Fortunately, we chose to believe young master. Some of them had the same thoughts as the other third prince, Qing Yun and Bai Yi. He thought that those three people might be stronger and could better protect them. After all, now was the time for everyone to work together. However, after seeing the cultivators who had been thrown out by the third prince, Qumjiyun, and Bai Yi of the sacred dragon dynasty, they were shocked. They heaved a sigh of relief. They had chosen Fuqian. It seemed like they had made the right choice. At this moment, on the floating island of the drunken immortal restaurant. At this moment, on the floating island, the divine eye was looking at the bronze mirror in front of it. In the white fog of the bronze mirror, cultivators were constantly fighting against the demon beasts and monsters that came from the upper level. He kept using the dark substance in the air. At this moment, their luck was slowly being devoured by the dark matter. However, Xiao Changtian didn't seem to care at all. He even looked like he was about to fall asleep. His heart thumped a little. He didn't know why, but when he saw Xiao Changshan's expression, he didn't feel confident. Xiao Changtian was indeed in a daze and looked like he was about to fall asleep. Ever since Fuqian had beaten the tiger, white mist had been appearing in the bronze mirror. He could not see anything here. He was about to fall asleep just by looking at her. Di Tian watched as the fate of the hot shot in the copper mirror slowly dissipated. His gaze at the divine eye also became sharp. What would Senior do next? Di Tian stared at Xiao Changtian. He was also looking forward to Xiao Changshan's next move. Beside Xiao Changtian, a little white cat slowly raised its head. He transmitted his voice to the chaos ant on Xiao Changshan's shoulder. "I'm counting on you. Bring me in." The primal chaos ant slowly poked its head out from Xiao Changshan's shoulder after receiving the white tiger's message. "I know." The chaos ant looked at the white tiger below and slowly responded to him. Then the two antennae also emitted a silver-white light. Whoosh! A silvery white light flashed and enveloped the white tiger. Then the white tiger left the floating island. When the chaos ants left with the white tiger, the golden armored guards on the floating island panicked. They looked at each other and exchanged glances. Just now, a trace of spatial fluctuation appeared on the floating island array that he was guarding. Then they realized that something seemed to have pierced through the island. Soon, a gold-tier guard came to the divine eye and reported the situation. When the divine eye heard the report of the golden guard, its expression changed. Then he turned around and looked at Xiao Changtian. Just now, he had been using his holy sense to envelop his body. No matter what he did, it would not escape his perception. What was going on this island? As he thought of this, the ominous feeling that the divine eye had in the beginning became even stronger. Then the divine eye continued to focus on the copper mirror, slowly paying attention to the changes in the copper mirror. At the same time, more than half of the hot shots in the drunken immortal restaurant were killed or injured. Fu Tian also killed one of his subordinates with a single punch. He looked at the monsters around him. His gaze was a little gloomy. It was only a matter of time before these hot shots died. It was still the dark matter that he had yet to see through. Thinking that this was Xiao Changshan's test for him, Fuqian's brain started to spin. Chapter 472, White Tiger Appears, 1. Divine Realm. On the square in front of the drunken immortal restaurant, the cultivators outside looked at the drunken immortal restaurant in front of them. They had all brought their own hot shots here. At this moment, in the eyes of the cultivators outside, something must have happened to the entire drunken immortal restaurant. Although they couldn't see what was going on inside. However, in their eyes, the light on the upper floors of the drunken immortal restaurant was clearly much weaker than that on the second floor. What happened in the drunken immortal restaurant? I wonder what the hot shots of the lower world can bring to my sect? Seeing the change in the drunken immortal restaurant, those cultivators also began to communicate. Me too. If only someone could see the situation inside. After all, this is related to the Heaven's Gate. It's normal that we can't see it. However, this hot shot has smashed all the strength of our sect. Sai, who says so? Do you remember that kid who walked in? That force is the unlucky one. Isn't it courting death to send such a person in? While he was saying that, the Fuqian page killed many monsters and demon beasts in the drunken immortal restaurant. The third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty, Qin Yun, and Bai Yi also joined the battle. Due to the difference in numbers between the two sides, the cultivators gathered in a circle and resisted the beast tide. At this moment, the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty shouted at everyone, "Everyone, don't be anxious. Listen to me. Gather into a pile and charge up." As he said that, the third prince of the sacred dragon empire also moved with a swoosh. A palm print with vast dragon energy flew out from his hand and attacked the surrounding monsters. With the third prince of the sacred dragon empire leading the way, those cultivators seemed to have found their backbone. They all gathered together, and all kinds of spirit skills flew out from their hands, attacking the surroundings. Although the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty had deceived them previously, they had no other choice now. Finally, someone gave them an idea. Naturally, they had to get out of this place as soon as possible. In the crowd, Fuqian saw that the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty wanted to lead the crowd and charge forward. No, if they went up like this, who knew how much dark matter these cultivators would absorb? He had to think of another way. With this thought in mind, Fuqian looked around and shouted at the people around him, "Everyone, don't be anxious. If you charge like this, you won't have long to leave. There's something wrong with this dark substance." As he spoke, Fuqian also injected his true essence into it. For a moment, Fuqian's voice rang out in everyone's ears. When those cultivators heard Fuqian's words, they looked at each other in dismay. They did not know how to react. On the other hand, the expressions of Qing Yun and the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty darkened. Qing Yun looked at Fuqian, and a trace of viciousness flashed across his face. When the saber-toothed tiger had appeared, Qing Yun had already disliked Fuqian. Now, Fuqian denied that the dark substance was not a good thing and that there was a problem. Wasn't this saying that his eyesight wasn't good? The third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty was the same. He looked at Fuqian with unfriendly eyes. This Fuqian was too similar to his competitor in the empire. In the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon he only had one opponent, and that was the Crown Prince. When the Sacred Dragon Dynasty's Crown Prince fought with him, he also let deny his strategy. In addition, he really could not see through Fuqian's true strength. In his heart he was also very disgusted by this Fuqian. Looking at Fuqian, the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty also questioned him. "Fellow Taoist, you don't want us to absorb the dark matter to advance. Do you want us to die here?" When Qing Yun heard the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Empire's words, he also echoed. "Although you displayed a bit of strength before, if you want to order everyone to die with you, forget it. Or do you have a better idea?" Faced with the questioning of the third prince of the Qing Yun and the Holy Dragon Dynasty, Fuqian shook his head. He did not respond to them. To him, the most important thing now was to find a way to break out of this situation. Bai Yi looked at Fuqian, her eyes flickering. No one knew what she was thinking. At this moment, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty and Qing Yun took the lead and flew up. Seeing the third prince and Qing Yun of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty move, the hot shots were also shaken. Although Fuqian had just saved their lives, their lineup was still too weak. Without the Sacred Dragon Empire's third prince and Qing Yun, they probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long. "Brother, although you just saved us, I'm sorry. We 11 go first." Soon this group of hotshots chose to escape with the third prince and Qing Yun of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. At this moment, Fuqian saw their actions and wanted to say something. A spatial rift slowly appeared above him. Then a voice slowly sounded in Fuqian's mind. "Brat, you did well. Leave the rest to me." Brr, brr, brr. A series of majestic roars sounded in the air. Under this roar, the entire second level of the Drunken Immortal restaurant became quiet. Everyone looked towards the source of the sound and saw that it was in mid-air. An awe-inspiring white tiger stood in the air where he had walked. The monsters and demonic beasts were all dead. Seeing the white tiger in front of them, the hot shots looked a little afraid. "It's over. There's no need for everyone to run." When the white tiger appeared, they clearly felt that the circulation of true essence in their bodies was very uneven. There was no hope of escaping. The third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty and Qing Yun also stopped in their tracks. When the white tiger appeared, they felt that their flying speed was greatly hindered. They were at a loss when they saw the white tiger that had suddenly appeared. When they faced those monsters and demon beasts, they still felt that they could stand a chance. But facing the white tiger, they could not muster up any thoughts of resisting at all. At the same time, when the white tiger appeared on the second level of the Drunken Immortal restaurant, the divine eye on the floating island of the Drunken Immortal restaurant also stood up from his seat. Looking at the white tiger in the bronze mirror, divine eye and the others were stunned. In his plan, it was impossible for the white tiger to appear. What was with this white tiger divine beast that appeared out of nowhere? With that thought in mind, he looked at Xiao Changtian with his divine eyes. At this moment, Xiao Changtian was still stewing at the side. It must be his doing. He looked at Xiao Changtian with his divine eyes and thought to himself. Then he slowly gathered the true essence in his hand. At this moment, Di Tian and the others behind Xiao Changtian also stood up. Chapter 473, Black Collar, 1. Divine Realm, floating island above the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Di Tian slowly stood up from his seat, staring at the divine eye in front of him. The true essence in his body also slowly flowed. It was obvious that the divine eye wanted to attack Xiao Changtian. To Di Tian this was something he couldn't tolerate. Even though Senior was still there and didn't do anything. Looking at Xiao Changtian who had also stood up, the divine eyes slowly put down his hand. The true essence in his hands slowly dissipated. Against Tian he didn't have the confidence to win. The main reason was that the spirit weapon used to absorb the fate of the hot shots was still on the floating island. If he were to take it out now to deal with Tian, the plan of the drunken immortal and below would become a complete mess. In that case he could forget about going back again in the divine gate. At this moment, Tian saw the divine eye take the lead to put down his palm and slowly withdrew the true essence on his body. Since the divine eye didn't want to act, Tian naturally wouldn't act first. After all, Senior didn't say anything. If they fought, it would be bad if they ruined Senior's plan. As the divine eye and Tian slowly retracted their true essence, the divine eye and Tian's true chi were slowly absorbed. The Golden Guards, Ice Emperor, and the others also slowly returned to their seats. They had thought that their master was going to fight. At this moment, the divine eye returned to its seat and looked at the bronze mirror in front of it. Right now he could only hope that this white tiger was just a facade. It was a smokescreen created by some cultivator below. After all, it was very normal for such spells to exist in the divine realm. And he had placed most of his holy sense on the person beside him. This person had not had any true essence fluctuations on his body since just now, so it was impossible for him to attack in secret. At this moment, in the second floor of the drunken immortal tower, the white tiger let out a roar, and then a palm blasted out in all directions. Under everyone's gaze, the white tiger's palm continued to enlarge. In the end, it actually reached more than 10,000 feet. Wherever the white tiger palm passed, all the monsters and demon beasts fell to the ground and died. When the hot shots saw the white tiger's actions, they were first stunned before they were very happy. They originally thought that this white tiger was coming to kill them. Unexpectedly, this white tiger seemed to be helping them escape. Those hot shots looked at each other and knelt down before the white tiger. Thank you, Senior White Tiger. With the existence of a divine beast like Senior White Tiger, we will definitely be saved. I wonder who was able to invite Senior White Tiger over. Those cultivators looked at the white tiger with reverence and gratitude in their eyes. At this time, under the white tiger's attack, those monsters and demon beasts had almost disappeared. And following that, the entire drunken immortal tower started to shake violently. Boom, boom, boom. That thing finally couldn't sit still anymore. The white tiger looked up and muttered. Then a black collar appeared above everyone. The black collar was covered in black gas, and this black gas was the black substance that Fu Tian and the others had seen before. Obviously, this black collar was the source of these dark substances. The moment the black collar appeared, the hot shots did not move. Looking at the black collar in the air, they were all on guard. After all, this drunken immortal restaurant was too strange for them. The hot shots looked at the white tiger. For a moment, the atmosphere was terrifyingly quiet. At this moment, the white tiger's voice slowly sounded in Fusion's mind. Kid, I'll leave this small collar to you. Alright, let me tell you, he can absorb the luck of those people below. After saying this to Fu Tian, the white tiger squatted on the ground and scratched its claws. When the hot shots saw the white tiger's appearance, they were also a little puzzled. What was the meaning of Senior White Tiger and what was the meaning of this ring? At this moment, Qing Yun's voice rang out among the crowd. I understand. This is the test of the drunken immortal restaurant. When we were on the first level, we were testing our individual abilities and whether we could block the puppet's attacks. The second level tests our ability to adapt. We'll see if we can endure the attack of the beast tide. In the end, Senior White Tiger appeared and helped us resolve the crisis. This collar now. As he spoke, Qing Yun pointed at the black collar in the air. It's our final test. Remember that dark substance, right? This collar is obviously the source of our strength. It seems that whoever gets the collar will be the winner. Speaking up to this point, Qing Yun was also a little excited. That makes sense. What Qing Yun said makes a lot of sense. So this is the test of the drunken immortal restaurant. I thought I couldn't go back just now. After hearing Qing Yun's analysis, the group of hotshots nodded and agreed. At this moment, a voice slowly sounded. Since Brother Qing Yun's words are so reasonable, then he'll make a move first. The third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, who was at the side, heard Qing Yun's words. With a whoosh, he flew toward the black collar in the air. At that moment, Fu Tian appeared before the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty. He did not think of any good way to resolve the beast tide previously. Now that Senior White Tiger wanted him to deal with that collar, he couldn't let anyone else succeed. He had to complete this black collar test. The third prince of the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon stopped in midair and saw Fu Tian blocking his way. You're courting death. As he said this, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty also threw a punch. He watched as the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty's fist, which was filled with killing intent, attacked him. Fu Tian also slowly raised his palm. Bang! The fist landed on Fuxian's palm, but it did not cause any ripples. Then it dissipated in the air. The third prince of the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon saw that Fu Tian had easily neutralized his attack, and the killing intent in his eyes grew even stronger. At this moment, Qing Yun also came to his side and slowly said to him, "Third prince, how about we kill this person together?" Qing Yun had already disliked the old man, and now he wanted to compete with them for opportunities. Naturally, they wanted to get rid of Fu Tian. When the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty heard Qing Yun's words, he nodded at him. Then, the two of them were about to attack Fu Tian. When the cultivators below saw this scene, none of them made a move. Chapter 474, Killing with One Punch, 1. Divine Realm, Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Fu Tian looked at the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty and Qing Yun in front of him. His expression did not change at all. At this moment, a figure slowly landed beside Fu Tian. The newcomer was dressed in white. It was none other than the white robe of the Flowing Cloud sect. With the help of the white-robed cultivator, we don't have to worry about anything. Some of the cultivators were anxious when they saw that Fu Tian was going to fight two people at once. After all, Fu Tian had saved their lives before. At this moment, Bai Yi came to Fu Tian's side. What did this mean? Bai Yi was going to help Fu Tian fight against the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. Seeing the white robe land beside Fu Tian, the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty and Qing Yun looked at each other. "Bai Yi, what do you mean by this?" Qing Yun looked at Bai Yi in front of him and said gloomily, "Why don't you come to our side and deal with this kid together with us? After this is done, we will fight for this opportunity. How about it?" The corners of Bai Yi's mouth curled up when he heard Qing Yun's patient words. He smiled at Qing Yun in front of him. "Young Master Qing Yun, according to what you've said, I'm afraid that after I help you deal with this fellow Taoist, he'll be able to kill you. He'll be the next one to die." These were the few words that Bai Yi had said since entering the Drunken Immortal restaurant, and it sounded like a spring breeze. Hearing Bai Yi's reply, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Empire did not say anything else. This group of people from the lower realms still dared to compete with him for this opportunity. The third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty flew out, and a huge palm print formed above him. Great Dragon Palm Print. Boom, boom, boom. The true essence of the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty was restless. Streams of pure true essence flew out of his body. Then it formed a huge dragon-shaped palm print in the air. The palm print slowly formed in the air, and then it attacked Fu Tian and Bai Yi below. "Go to hell." The voice of the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty echoed in the air. When everyone heard it, they felt a chill in their hearts. When Qing Yun saw the third prince of the Dragon Dynasty attack, he did not stop at all. His figure also flew out and stopped in midair. The true essence in his hand slowly condensed, and then formed a huge sword light in his hand. "Blue Sky Sword Ray." Qing Yun shouted loudly. Huge sword shadows appeared in the air. This was the spirit skill that Qing Yun had personally received from the Pavilion Master of Green Sword Pavilion after he arrived at Green Sword Pavilion. Relying on his talent, Qing Yun quickly grasped him. The sword light floated in the air, bringing with it streaks of rainbow light. For a moment, the palm print condensed by the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty and the sword light condensed by the green clouds attacked Fu Tian. When Bai Yi saw the palm print and sword light coming at him, she also looked at Fu Tian beside her and said slowly, "Fellow Taoist, I'll block all of this first. Consider it my sincerity to join you." Bai Yi was confident that with her strength, she would be able to do anything to Fu Tian. Fu Tian was still willing to cooperate with him even though he was not weak. Following that, Bai Yi's hand also gathered true essence, and a stream of water slowly appeared behind her. It was about to form a water curtain in front of her and Fu Tian. It blocked the attacks from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty's third prince and Qing Yun. At this moment, a faint voice slowly sounded beside Bai Yi's ear. "No need, I can do it myself." As he spoke, Fu Tian walked up to Bai Yi and looked at the palm print and sword light in front of him. He also threw a punch with both hands. It looked like he was planning to fight the two of them alone. At this moment, Bai Yi saw Fu Tian's expression and shook her head. This guy was a little too arrogant. He actually rejected his good intentions. Forget it, let him try. When the time comes, he would naturally cooperate with him. With this thought in mind, Bai Yi did not go up to help Fu Tian. He maintained the water curtain to protect his body. At this moment, Fuxian's golden fist also collided with the palm print of the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty and the sword light of Qin Yun. Bah! 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 The moment his fist collided with the palm print and the sword ray dissipated rapidly. Following that, the two golden fists seemed to be unaffected. With a whoosh, it also struck the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty in Qin Yun. Bah! 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 Suffering a heavy blow, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty and Qin Yun spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was like a kite with a broken string about to fly down. He looked at the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty and Qin Yun, who had almost no strength to resist. All the cultivators present opened their mouths wide. They were defeated just like that? The group of hot shots looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. They could understand why Fuqian was so powerful. After all, he had saved them before. But it shouldn't be so ridiculous. This punch had defeated the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty in Qin Yun. What kind of strength was this? Fuqian looked at the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty and Qin Yun below with an indifferent expression. He had never taken them to heart. Bai Yi, who was behind Fuqian, smiled at him after seeing Fuqian kill the third prince and Qin Yun of the Holy Dragon Dynasty in such a domineering manner. He didn't have the desire to attack and waved his hand at Fuqian. Bai Yi slowly said to him, "Fellow Taoist, this collar is yours." What a joke. Fuqian was so powerful. If he went up now, wouldn't he be courting death? The white tiger, who was standing at the side, did not do anything about all this. In his eyes, these two people were not insignificant. What was important was how Fuqian was going to deal with this black collar. With this thought in mind, the white tiger also glanced at Fuqian, who was in the air. He saw Fuqian slowly approaching the black collar. At this moment, under the surprised gazes of the various cultivators, the black collar suddenly moved on its own and flew towards the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. Seeing the appearance of the black collar, the hot shots began to look at each other. He looked at his companions beside him, not knowing what was going on with this black collar. Could it be that this black collar would choose its own owner? At this moment, everyone's gaze was focused on the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. At this moment, the black collar was slowly being placed around the neck of the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. At the same time, Fuqian's figure flew over from afar. Looking at the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty in front of him, he frowned. Chapter 475. This is a black person? One divine world. In the drunken immortal restaurant, Fuqian looked at the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty in front of him, and his eyes flickered. At this moment, the black substance was slowly invading the third prince's body from his neck. The aura on his body also became stronger and stronger. Looking at the three princes of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty in front of him, Fuqian extended his spiritual senses. His spiritual sense slowly swept across the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty, and Fuqian also slowly discovered it. At this moment, the substance in the black collar was constantly corroding the third prince's body. More importantly, the fate of the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty was constantly dissipating. From the looks of it, this black collar wanted to occupy the body of the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. With this thought in mind, Fuqian did not hesitate. He gathered the true essence in his hand and punched out. Bah! A golden fist flew out from Fuqian's hand. At the same time, the third prince of the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon also moved. With a flash, he attacked the hotshot cultivator beside him. The hotshots looked at the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. A trace of fear appeared on his face. "Third prince, what's the matter with you? We don't want to fight with you, but you still want to kill us?" A hotshot cultivator was pressed to the ground by the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. He looked at the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty in front of him and begged for mercy. Following that, the third prince of the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon ignored him. The true essence in his hand slowly gathered and he placed one hand on the cultivator's forehead. Ah! The cultivator immediately let out a series of miserable cries. "Third prince, what are you doing?" Under the assault of the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, he felt that something in his body was slowly flowing away. At this moment, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty did not care about this cultivator. His body was covered in dark true essence, and his face was filled with a ferocious smile. Then, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty saw the cultivator in his hand faint. With a wave of his hand, the cultivator flew out. Seeing the cultivator on the ground unable to struggle, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty revealed a devilish smile. He raised his hands and continuously attacked the hot shots in front of him. At this moment, Fuqian saw the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty's actions and his figure flashed. He arrived before the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty and kicked him in the abdomen. The third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty crashed into a wall with a whoosh. Bang. The third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty fell heavily to the ground after being hit by Fuqian. There was still some blood flowing out of the corner of his mouth. Then, the true essence in his body slowly flew out and slowly poured into his abdomen. Under the effect of the black collar, the injuries on the third prince's body slowly recovered. Damn it. At this moment, Fuqian cursed in his heart. This black collar was now attached to the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. Through him, he continuously absorbed the luck of the other hot shots. If he continued to rashly attack, it would only make him absorb the luck faster. As he thought about this, Fuqian felt a little melancholy. His master must be looking at him now. He could not disappoint him. At this moment, on the floating island above the Drunken Immortal restaurant, his divine eyes looked at the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Empire in the bronze mirror, and his expression slowly recovered. The black collar was actually called the Limitless Ring. It was a treasure bestowed by the sect master. They had specially asked him to come here to collect luck. If the infinite ring did not absorb enough luck, it would be difficult for him to report back. At this time, the infinite ring possessed the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty and could be considered to be able to absorb the providence. Although this was different from his original plan, it was still a little better. The only hidden danger was this Fuqian. That guy that kicked just now. When it was in the abdomen of the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, the infinite ring had to borrow the power of the floating island to resist. One had to know that the infinite ring itself was an immortal artifact. With its own intelligence, its strength was not weaker than his. With that thought in mind, his divine eyes slowly looked at Xiao Changtian. How did this person and his luck enter? In the eyes of the divine eye, this Fuqian must be some old monster who had cultivated for a long time. Moreover, he had to use some secret technique to enter the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Xiao Changtian had also taken a nap. He stretched and slowly stood up from his seat. Looking at the bronze mirror in front of him, most of the cultivators were lying on the ground. There was no way to move. Only Fuqian stood in front of everyone. There was another person. This is a black man? Xiao Changtian looked at the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty standing in front of Fuqian and blurted out. In Xiao Changshan's eyes, there was not a single part of the third prince's body that wasn't black. It was exactly the same as the black people in his previous life. At this moment, the divine eye heard Xiao Changshan's words and walked over. He said to Xiao Changtian slowly, "Black man, what is that?" "No, I'm just saying." Xiao Changtian heard the divine eye's words and knew that he didn't have the confidence in front of everyone. What if someone found out about his past life in front of the Li Fire Sect seniors? One had to know that transmigration was the biggest secret in the entire cultivation world. If he leaked it, those cultivators would definitely arrest him. He would study it like a lab rat. The divine eye heard Xiao Changshan's words and didn't say anything else. He only silently remembered the word black man. This was the first time he heard a meaningful word from Xiao Changtian. This person was really not simple. On the other hand, Di Tian, who was at the side, had a smile on his face when he heard Xiao Changshan's words. When he was in the courtyard, he had heard Xiao Changtian say some words that he didn't understand. However, every time he finished speaking, he would have a great understanding. This time around, Di Tian also believed that it wasn't an accident. Senior must be using some sort of powerful innate technique. Following that, everyone's gaze slowly turned towards the bronze mirror. At this moment, in the bronze mirror, Fuqian looked at the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty in front of him. His figure flashed and appeared in front of him. True essence surged out of his hand and attacked the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. The golden true essence wrapped around the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, restricting his movements. At this moment, the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty also emitted waves of black mist, trying to break free. Chapter 476. You're making me smile, right? 1. Divine Realm, Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Fuqian looked at the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty in front of him, and a fierce look flashed across his eyes. The true essence in his hand continued to expand, tightly binding the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty in front of him. Following that, Fuqian also extended his hand and waved it, suppressing the black gas on the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty in front of him. While he was suppressing the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty, Fu Tian also felt that the black collar was helping him resist his suppression. The source of this black collar's power was the fate of the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty. This third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty was hopeless. "He'll go," Fu Tian said in his heart. Then he felt a gust of wind pass by him. He slowly released the third prince of the holy dragon dynasty and turned around to look. On the other side, waves of black qi had also risen from Qing Yun's body. Qing Yun panted heavily, and the black fog on his body continued to rise. "Can I still defeat you now?" Qing Yun looked at Fu Tian and said malevolently. When Fu Tian was fighting with the third prince of the holy dragon dynasty, he had also absorbed a large amount of dark matter into his body. These dark substances also caused his aura to rise. "Look, this Qingjian's aura has soared by more than one level. I didn't think that he would take the initiative to absorb these things. Look at the third prince, there's something wrong with this dark substance." At this moment, some hot shots began to notice that something was wrong with the dark matter. At this moment, Fu Tian also looked at Qing Yun. This fellow should have slapped him to death just now. He actually took the initiative to absorb the dark matter. Wasn't this just increasing the power of the black collar? As the true essence on Qing Yun's body continued to rise, the black collar hanging around the third prince's neck was also restless. With a swoosh, his body was about to fly out of the third prince's neck. Seeing that the black collar was trying to change its target, Fu Tian's eyes turned sharp. He arrived in front of the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty and slowly pressed down on him with the true essence in his hand. It stopped the black collar from flying away. At this time, Qing Yun also wanted to attack Fu Tian. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the sword light condensed beside Qing Yun had already turned black. The speed of the sword was even faster than before and it was about to attack Fu Tian. Seeing Qing Yun like this, Fu Tian also wanted to attack Qing Yun. Bang, bang, bang. The black sword light streaked across the air and instantly arrived beside Fu Tian. At this moment, a water curtain formed around Fu Tian. "Fellow Taoist, let me help you." Bai Yi's voice slowly sounded in Fu Tian's ears. Following that, Bai Yi's water screen, which was cast beside Fu Tian, blocked all the black sword rays. Bai Yi looked at Qing Yun in front of him. His figure flashed and arrived opposite him. The true essence in his body slowly rose and shot out water arrows at him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The water arrow collided with the black sword light, creating a series of explosions. "Bai Yi, you're courting death." Qing Yun looked at Bai Yi, who was blocking in front of him, and said angrily to her. Bai Yi didn't waste any time talking nonsense with Qing Yun and rushed towards Qing Yun. Then the two figures attacked in the air. It seems that Bai Yi is still on young master's side. Now we just have to see how young master deals with this black collar. At this moment, the hot shots had already arrived beside the white tiger. They discovered that by the side of the white tiger, it seemed as if they would not be affected by the battle at all. Seeing Bai Yi and Qing Yun fighting in the air, Fu Tian did not hesitate. Seeing that he had stopped the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty, Fu Tian injected his vital essence into the gloves that Xiao Changtian had given him. He held the third prince's neck with both hands. Bang, bang, bang. The black collar and the boxing gloves on Fu Tian's hands collided, and white smoke was emitted. The surrounding black fog was slowly absorbed into it. It seemed that the gloves in Fu Tian's hands were still very effective against the black collar. At this moment, the white tiger slowly opened its eyes. "You still have some brains." The white tiger muttered to himself. Indeed, it could not be obtained by killing the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty. Otherwise it would only increase the strength of the black collar. If he used the gloves given by Xiao Changtian, he could still suppress the black collar's ability. It was naturally much easier to subdue him. At this moment, on the floating island above the drunken immortal restaurant, he looked at the bronze mirror in front of him. The black collar inside was trembling. It seemed like he was asking for help. What exactly was this pair of gloves? He was actually able to play such a big role that even the Wuji ring could not do anything to him? At this time, the divine eye also looked at Xiao Changtian and said with some resentment, "What is this pair of gloves made of?" Xiao Changtian was also a little stunned when he heard the divine eye's words. Did he forge these gloves on his own? What celestial artifact? He was just a mortal, how could he forge an immortal artifact? If that was the case, why did he have to be like this? He had tried it before. The things he forged did not have any spiritual power at all. As he thought about this, Xiao Changtian slowly said to the divine eye, "Senior, don't make fun of me. This is just a pair of boxing gloves that I casually forged. How can it be an immortal artifact? A real celestial artifact can shake the earth and destroy the world. At this moment, Xiao Changtian also told him his understanding of fairy weapons. Hearing Xiao Changshan's words, the divine eye was stunned. The earth shook and the mountains shook, destroying the heavens and earth? Do you think you are from the human realm upon heavens? How could such an immortal artifact come to this divine world? Even the Elysium was only working for one force in the human realm upon heavens. It was not considered a true force in the human realm upon heavens. This is what you're doing to make fun of me. Although the divine eye thought so, it didn't want to fight Xiao Changtian. Since Xiao Changtian knew about this celestial artifact, it seemed that he must have a powerful background. He thought that the main character this time was Di Tian. He didn't expect that his biggest enemy would always be this person who didn't have any aura. When the golden armored guards on the floating island heard Xiao Changshan's words, they all looked at each other. He looked at Xiao Changtian with fear in his eyes. Could this senior be a grandmaster? With that thought in mind, the golden armored guards looked at the divine eye and waited for his command. Chapter 477, Escape of the Divine Eye, 1. Divine Realm, Drunken Immortal Restaurant. The Fuqian glove grabbed the collar around the third prince's neck. After a while, the black collar was also pulled out from the sacred dragon dynasty's neck by Fuqian. Looking at the black collar in his hand, a faint smile flashed across Fuqian's lips. The test that his master had given him could be considered to be more or less completed. As the black collar was pulled out by Fuqian, the third prince of the Holy Dragon Dynasty fell to the ground. The vitality in his body could no longer be seen, and his body quickly withered. Following that, Fuqian also looked up into the sky. After the black collar was grabbed by Fu Tian, the dark substance around Qingyun also disappeared rapidly. At this moment, Qingyun's body also felt waves of weakness. Then, under everyone's gaze, Qingyun smiled at Bai Yi. Let's die together. Qingjin Pavilion had sent him here to help him seize the opportunity. He would obtain a chance to reach the divine gate. He did not expect that all of this would be ruined by Fuqian. As Qingyun said this, his figure also flew towards Bai Yi. Then, under everyone's gaze, Qingyun's figure and the white dress intertwined. Not good. Seeing Qingyun's actions, Fuqian frowned. Qingyun was burning his true essence, wanting to forcefully perish together with Bai Yi. In the air, Qingyun grabbed Bai Yi's arm and said to him crazily, "Since you want to help that kid, then let's die together." As he spoke, Qingyun also absorbed the few dark substances around him into his body. As the dark substance entered his body, Qingyun's body also expanded violently. Bai Yi looked at Qingyun in front of her, and fear began to appear on her face. If he was hit by the explosion at such a close distance, he would definitely lose his life. At this moment, some of the hot shots below also began to cover their eyes. Looking at Bai Yi in the air, he sighed. It seemed that another fairy was about to die. Qingyun's body slowly expanded and was about to explode. At this moment, a golden light flew over from afar. It was blocked between Bai Yi and Qingyun. Bang! Qingyun's body was hit by the golden light, and his figure was also sent flying. Then, in midair, Qingyun's body also turned into a stream of light and exploded. Under everyone's gaze, Fuqian slowly hugged Bai Yi, who was in midair. Bang! The aftershock from Qingyun's Bodis explosion continued to spread in the air. The hot shots below also raised their arms to block their faces. Then Fuqian's figure slowly landed on the ground. At this moment, Fuqian's figure slowly landed on the ground. Bai Yi lay in Fuqian's arms, her face flushed. At the same time, on the floating island above the restaurant, the divine eye saw that the black collar in the bronze mirror had been subdued, and the third prince of the sacred dragon dynasty was slowly falling to the ground. Qingyun, who had already self-destructed, also waved his hand. Immediately, the light in the bronze mirror began to dim. Then, under everyone's gaze, the true essence in the divine eye's hand shook. Bang! 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 The entire floating island suddenly shook violently. He could feel the change on the floating island. Xiao Changtian also grabbed the chairs around him. Just now he saw a flash of inspiration. Then he felt the entire island shake. Di Tian, who was behind Xiao Changtian, sensed the changes on the island. The true energy in his hand slowly gathered. He stabilized his body and looked at the divine eye in front of him. What was this divine eye up to? Then he saw Xiao Changtian standing in front of him, his expression still calm. He also relaxed a little in his heart. Senior was not in a hurry. There should be no problem. The entire theater shook, and then Xiao Changtian felt his vision go black. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In front of the square of the drunken immortal restaurant, a group of cultivators saw a few streams of light fly past them. After that, the silhouettes of Xiao Changtian, Di Tian and the others slowly appeared in their sights. Returning to the square, Xiao Changtian looked around in shock. They were just on the island, why did they come down all of a sudden? Was the test over? Xiao Changtian remembered that he had seen Fuqian hugging a woman in the bronze mirror. Little brat, I didn't expect that I would have such a romantic affinity with him when I asked him to participate in the test. He still wanted to see what was going on, so he returned to the original place. It seemed that after he came out he would have to ask him. Now was the best time to enter the Li Fire sect. He did not want to mess it up. After that, Xiao Changtian glanced at his surroundings as he spoke to Di Tian. Di Tian, is this test over? When Di Tian heard Xiao Changshan's words, his expression froze as well. Shouldn't he ask his senior what had happened? Could it be that senior was telling him some information? Seeing that Di Tian didn't reply, Xiao Changtian also waved his hand. Thinking about it, it made sense. Di Tian was just a small cultivator who had just entered the sect. How did he know what had just happened? Now he could only wait for the Li Fire sect's notification. Then Xiao Changtian looked around trying to find Hualing but she had disappeared. It seemed that the holy maiden of the Li Fire sect had also gone to rank the examinees. He hoped that Fuqian could successfully enter the Li Fire sect on his own. In this way he could be considered to have fulfilled one of his wishes. At the same time, in the Drunken Immortal restaurant, the white tiger who was sitting on the ground slowly stood up and looked into the deep sky. Then he slowly transmitted his voice to Fuqian. Kid, this place is basically done. Let's go. When the floating island above the Drunken Immortal restaurant disappeared just now, he had also felt it. That group of people schemed against Master's disciples. Could they still let them escape? As soon as he finished speaking, the white tiger also slapped forward. Then the entire Drunken Immortal restaurant exploded. Bang! A crack appeared in front of the hotshots. When those cultivators saw the crack, they all rushed towards him. Following that, on the square of the Drunken Immortal restaurant, the group of hotshots slowly saw the figures of cultivators descending from the sky. Seeing the hotshots that his faction had brought over fall to the ground, he could not help but sigh. Those cultivators also went up to welcome him. How was it? Did you get anything this time? Does the gate of heaven really exist? Where were the others? Why are you the only ones out? The old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty also stood beside the dragon carriage and observed the crowd, trying to find the third prince. Chapter 478. Fuqian leaves the Drunken Immortal in 1v7 Divine Realm. Above the square of the Drunken Immortal restaurant a golden light flashed. Then with a whoosh a figure appeared in midair. There was still a trace of panic on the figure's face. It was the Divine Eye who had escaped from the floating island. The Divine Eye stood in midair. Following that, a few figures appeared behind him. It was the Golden Guard who had left the island with the Divine Eye. Looking at the Golden Guard behind him, the Divine Eye said to him, "Did you bring her here?" The Divine Eye had used the space array on the floating island when it used its great divine ability. He separated Xiao Changtian and Di Tian from himself. He didn't know Xiao Changshan's strength, so he didn't dare to fight him. However, after consuming the power on the floating island would be closed for a period of time. As soon as the Divine Eye finished speaking, one of the two golden guards behind him also joined in. It was the Metal Emperor who had been in the hall earlier. Looking at the Metal Emperor, several pairs of divine eyes also looked at him. Whoosh! A few rays of golden light entered the Metal Emperor's body. Then the Metal Emperor's tightly shut eyes slowly opened. He straightened his body and walked toward the Divine Eye with a dull gaze. "Go and call your other 4 brothers over." When the Metal Emperor heard the Divine Eye's words, he did not hesitate at all. He placed his hand on his mouth and let out a sharp cry. Then a few streaks of light flew over from afar. They were the Wood Emperor, Water Emperor, Fire Emperor, and Earth Emperor. When he saw who it was, a smile appeared on his face. With a wave of his hand, the Metal Emperor and the others stood side by side. The Divine Eyes looked at them and slowly said, "You guys, I have good news to tell you. You used to kill your master Di Tian. Now you are below. Your mission is simple. That is, go down and cripple him for me." As he spoke, the Divine Eye's face was rippling with an indifferent smile. When the Metal Emperor and the others heard Di Tian's words, their bodies trembled slightly. After this subtle movement was discovered by the Divine Eye also smiled at them and slowly said, "Oh, you're still so excited in front of your former master. It's a good thing, a good thing. Work hard. I'm looking forward to your performance more and more. The divine eyes' laughter echoed in the air. The three pairs of eyes that were staring at the Metal Emperor and the Wood Emperor also shone brightly with golden light. Then, the Metal Emperor and the others quieted down once again with the wave of the divine eye. He flew down. At this moment, the square in front of the Drunken Immortal restaurant was already in a mess. The leaders of those factions saw that the hot shots of their factions had not come out for a long time. There was a wave of anxiety in their hearts. He also said some dejected words in the square. Someone must have harmed our hot shots. Otherwise, with their talent, even if they didn't gain anything, they wouldn't have died inside. Yes, it's impossible. Someone must have ambushed you. A group of cultivators chattered on in the square. At this moment, a loud and clear voice sounded in the square. Stop talking. Where's my sworn brother Qingyun? Why didn't he come out? When everyone heard this voice, they also looked towards the center of the square. At this moment, Azure Peak looked at the people in the square with a cold gaze. Qingyun carried the hope of increasing the overall strength of the Greensword Pavilion. If he died in there, and if he didn't know what happened, it would be difficult for him to explain when he went back. While everyone was silent, another elderly voice slowly sounded from the square. And my third prince, why haven't I seen him? Bah. The old servant from the kingdom of the sacred dragon stood in midair with Azure Peak. For a moment, the auras of the two utmost powerful beings made the cultivators in the square somewhat breathless. Looking at the two figures above, some of the hot shots began to stammer. They had already been defeated by young master inside. What? Upon hearing this cultivator's words, the old servant from the kingdom of the sacred dragon and Azure Peak turned to look at him. What nonsense are you talking about? The third prince and our Green Cloud disciples are both outstanding figures among everyone. Is there anyone who can defeat them? The elders of the Greensword Pavilion stared in the direction of the hot shots with sharp gazes. That's right. The two of them are both geniuses. How can they be defeated? The cultivators around the Sword Pavilion also echoed. Facing so many people's questions, the hotshot cultivator was also under immense pressure. It's true. After that prince and Qingyun got the black collar, they didn't hit the young master. Black collar? At this moment, when he heard the hotshot cultivator's words, Azure Peak stared at him and asked, the black collar, was that the spiritual weapon for the test of the Drunken Immortal restaurant? It was a powerful divine artifact or even an immortal artifact. A voice slowly sounded in the air when he was asked this question again. Look, there are people coming out. Everyone followed the voice of that cultivator and looked over. Fuqian carried a white cat in his arms and slowly walked out of the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Seeing Fuqian, the cultivator pointed at him and said slowly to Azure Peak and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, Look, young master is out. Seeing that Fuqian was safe and sound, the other cultivators present heaved a sigh of relief. After all, Fuqian had saved their lives before, so they naturally hoped that he would be safe. What? Isn't this the one who walked in from the beginning? You're not telling me that he was the one who defeated the third prince and Qingyun, right? He definitely wouldn't tell me that the black collar is on him. When he spoke, Azure Peak also had a murderous aura. Seeing Azure Peak's appearance, the nearby hot shots also looked at him. With a fearful expression, she nodded at him. Azure Peak snorted coldly and waved his sleeve. A powerful aura spread out from his body. Following that, the voice of the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty rang out in everyone's ears. So that girl from the Flowing Cloud sect is here too. After saying this, the old servant from the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon was the same as Azure Peak. A powerful aura spread out from his body as he flew in Fuqian's direction. Behind Fuqian, Bai slowly appeared in everyone's line of sight. Azure Peak and the old servant from the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon came before Fuqian and Bai and said slowly, Drifting Cloud Sect girl, what did you get inside? Chapter 479. Why aren't you Scram? 1. Divine Realm. On the square of the Drunken Immortal restaurant, Azure Peak and the old servant from the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon stood in front of Fuqian and Bai. Two waves of pressure descended on their bodies. At this moment, a clear female voice slowly sounded in everyone's ears. You guys actually want to make things difficult for the weak women of our Flowing Cloud sect. The reputation of the Sacred Dragon Empire and the Azure Sword Pavilion is ruined. As soon as he finished speaking, a woman in blue clothes slowly appeared in front of Fuqian and Bai. Azure Peak cupped his fists at her upon seeing this figure. Fairy Lianshui, in the test of the Drunken Immortal restaurant, if your Flowing Cloud sect wins the treasure fairly, we naturally have nothing to say. But now, my sworn brother Qing Yun is still missing. Azure Peak pointed at the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty beside him as he spoke. There's also no sign of the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Empire. Our hotshots have disappeared for such a long time. Naturally, there's a reason to suspect that this girl colluded with others to frame them. Azure Peak was also staring at Fuqian and Bai Yi as he spoke. The old servant from the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon nodded in agreement. He looked like he didn't want to tolerate it at all. Seeing Azure Peak and the Sacred Dragon Dynasty's old servant like this, Fairy Lianshui also chuckled. His hand gently brushed across his face as he began to calculate in his heart. If she were to deal with either Azure Peak or the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty by herself, that could be dealt with, but if the two of them joined forces to attack, it would be difficult for him to leave with Bai Yi today. He looked at Azure Peak and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty who were blocking his escape route. Fairy Lianshui also sent a voice transmission to Bai Yi. You did well this time. I promised you that I wouldn't leave you out when I returned to the sect. At this moment, everyone present thought that the treasure of the Drunken Immortal restaurant was with Bai Yi. When Bai Yi received Fairy Lianshui's voice transmission, his face was filled with joy. The purpose of her coming to the Drunken Immortal restaurant this time was to save her sect in the lower realm. However, if she returned this time, she would not obtain anything from the Drunken Immortal restaurant. It was probably not going to end well. With this thought in mind, Fairy Lianshui's voice transmission rang out in her mind again. Wait for my hand signal and I will take you away. Fairy Lianshui slowly descended from the sky after she finished speaking. Arriving on the ground, Fairy Lianshui chuckled at Azure Peak and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty. If that's the case, why don't you two come down and talk? In midair, Azure Peak and the old servant of the Saint Dragon Dynasty heard Fairy Lianshui's words. They looked at each other and landed on the ground below. When they landed, Azure Peak's voice slowly sounded in Fairy Lianshui's ears. Fairy Lianshui, I advise you not to waste your energy. When Fairy Lianshui heard Azure Peak's words, she also stopped condensing the true essence on her palm behind her. He looked around. Her path of retreat had been blocked by the men of Greensword Pavilion. As for their Flowing Cloud Sect spirit ship, it was also tied down by the Sacred Dragon Empire and could not come over. At this moment, Fairy Lianshui also smiled at Azure Peak. Qing Feng Holy Sun is really cautious. As she spoke, Fairy Lianshui's face revealed a grave expression. At this moment, a loud voice sounded in everyone's ears. Fujian, how was it? Did you pass the test? Following this voice, everyone saw something in the crowd. Xiao Changtian slowly walked toward Fujian. Behind Xiao Changtian, Di Tian and the others also slowly followed. When they saw Xiao Changtian, Di Tian and the others who suddenly appeared, Fairy Lianshui, Azure Peak and the third prince of the Saint Dynasty were all stunned. Who were these people? Seeing Xiao Changtian walking over, Fujian said to him slowly, Master, I didn't complete the test well. It's all thanks to Little White's help. As he spoke, the white tiger jumped out of Fuxian's arms and came to Xiao Changshan's side. Seeing the white tiger by his feet, Xiao Changtian also picked her up. Looking at the white tiger, Xiao Changtian said slowly, You cat, you really run around. Hearing that Fuqian had passed the test, Xiao Changtian was very happy. It seemed that Fuqian was very confident that he could join the Li Fire sect. Azure Peak and the old servant from the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon were also a little disdainful after hearing Xiao Changshan's words. Fuqian and the others naturally knew that it was the kid who walked in. There was no aura on this person's body. It was not bad to be his master. He even said that he had passed the test. He really knew how to brag. At this moment, Azure Peak said to Xiao Changtan, The few of you leave quickly. It was just a few mortals. Azure Peak did not take it to heart. Let them leave first and not get in the way here. If there was a problem, the few mortals would be able to find it very quickly. Bai Yi, on the other hand, could not show any flaws just because she attacked them. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to deal with it when the time came. Hearing Azure Peak's unreasonable words, Fuqian was also furious. He took a step forward and slowly said to Azure Peak, What did you just say? Then Xiao Changtian walked up and patted Fuqian's shoulder. Fellow Taoists, isn't it inappropriate to speak like this? This place was not owned by his family. He was fine here. Don't tell me you can leave just like that. While saying that, Xiao Changtian also performed his usual martial arts posture. The opponents were Xiaxianists, so he couldn't be careless. After seeing Xiao Changshan's casual actions, Qing Feng and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty were shocked. They all swallowed their saliva. but they seemed to have seen it on their sect master. And it seemed that Xiao Changshan's was even more profound. What was going on? Could it be that I'm seeing things? Looking at Xiao Changtian, Azure Peak, the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, and Lianshui Fairy, they were all in disbelief. Then, in the minds of Azure Peak and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, a huge figure slowly appeared. Brr, brr, brr. In their minds, the huge figure of the white tiger stood in the air. He looked down at them with a vast pressure. Seeing the white tiger in front of them, Azure Peak and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty trembled in fear. He did not dare to move too much and said with a trembling mouth, Is this a white tiger? Get lost. The white tiger didn't answer them directly. Instead, it responded with a majestic roar. Chapter 480. Fuqian, go and welcome them. 1. Divine Realm. On the square in front of the Drunken Immortal restaurant following the white tiger's roar, Azure Peak and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty also broke free from their spiritual world. Azure Peak and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty looked at Xiao Changtian in front of them, their eyes filled with fear. What did they see just now? That was the divine white tiger. At this moment, Xiao Changtian said to Azure Peak and the others, Why aren't you saying anything? Hearing Xiao Changshan's words, Azure Peak and the old servant from the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon quivered. Then he slowly said to Xiao Changdan, Senior, let's get out of here right now. As they spoke, Azure Peak and the old servant from the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon felt apprehensive. He hurriedly tried to escape. Seeing their expressions, Xiao Changtian continued, Did I tell you to get lost? Xiao Changtian remembered that he didn't say anything just now. Why did these two people say that they wanted to get lost? Could it be that he felt that he was in the wrong and was too embarrassed to stay here? Hearing Xiao Changshan's words, Azure Peak and the old servant from the kingdom of the Sacred Dragon stopped in their tracks. She felt like crying in her heart. He looked at Xiao Changtian and waited for his punishment. At this moment he didn't dare to anger Xiao Changtian. When Lian Shui saw Qing Feng and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, she was also a little stunned. These two people were not like this when they dealt with her. Could it be that this person? Looking at Xiao Changtian, Fairy Lianshui's expression changed. Then he looked at Fuqian who was standing beside Xiao Changtian. Could it be that it was really as those hotshots had said? This person had passed the test and defeated the third prince of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty in Qing Yun. As she thought this, Fairy Lianshui also turned to look at Bai Yi. Bai Yi felt Fairy Lianshui's gaze and nodded slightly at her. At this moment he understood what Fairy Lianshui meant. Furthermore, she had helped Fuqian back then because she wanted to help her sect through him. At this time he had to make up his mind. Xiao Changtian looked at Azure Peak and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty, who were still standing in front of him. He also continued to say to them, You guys can do whatever you want. The way they stood up just now was like a child who had done something wrong. Since they knew they were wrong, he could not embarrass them too much. After hearing Xiao Changshan's words, Azure Peak and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon Dynasty were relieved. With a flash, he waved his hand behind him. Following which, the soldiers of the Azure Sword Pavilion and the Sacred Dragon Empire left with them. At this moment, Fairy Lianshui also slowly came to Xiao Changshan's side. He said slowly to Fuqian, who was beside him, Fellow Taoist, you must have passed the test together with Bai Yi in the Drunken Immortal restaurant, right? At this time, the Fairy of Rippling Water was only trying her best to get Bai Yi to have some sort of relationship with them. After all, she didn't dare to make a move. Even Azure Peak and the old servants of the Sacred Dragon Dynasty retreated in fright. His strength was about the same as theirs. How could they dare to fight him? Xiao Changtian saw Fairy Lianshui walking towards him and smiled at him. He had seen it in the bronze mirror before. Fuqian was hugging the white-robed woman beside him. It seemed like they had a good relationship. Then he said slowly to Fairy Lianshui, Fuqian passed the test together with your disciple. It's fate. The reason why this beautiful cultivator said that was because she was afraid that her own cultivator would be kidnapped. However, when he saw Fuqian's appearance he was shocked. He must be very satisfied with this woman in white. He had to help his disciple. Xiao Changtian was observing Fairy Lianshui's changes. Fairy Lianshui heard Xiao Changshan's words and was delighted. Since Xiao Changtian had said so, did that mean that the Drunken Immortal and still had their opportunities? After all, Xiao Changtian had no intention of rejecting them. With this thought in mind, Fairy Lianshui also looked towards Bai Yi. At this time, Bai Yi wanted to build a good relationship with them. This was also a good thing for their Flowing Cloud sect. The white-robed fairy could feel the gaze of the rippling water fairy and nodded at him. It seemed that his decision back then was right. Following Fuqian was also a chance to save his sect. Seeing Bai Yi nod, Fairy Lianshui smiled at her. With a swoosh, he flew towards the spirit ship at the Flowing Cloud sect. After Fairy Lianshui left, 5 figures flew over the square of the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 5 figures stood in the air and swept their gazes below. He also looked in the direction of Xiao Changtian and the others. Upon seeing Di Tian, the Metal Emperor's body trembled slightly. Then a golden light flashed in his eyes. He then flew towards Di Tian. Wow, it's the Golden Emperor. I've finally seen him in person. Is Lord Metal Emperor here to give a reward? Could it be that he's from the heavenly gates? Seeing the Metal Emperor's figure appear, the hot shots below whispered to each other. His face and heart were also very excited. On the other hand, Di Tian, who was at the side, had a complicated expression on his face when he saw the Metal Emperor. He had clearly sensed a killing intent in the eyes of the Metal Emperor and the others earlier. What was going on? Could it be that the Metal Emperor had really joined the Elysium and was coming to deal with him? There was also the Wood Emperor, Water Emperor, Fire Emperor, Earth Emperor and the others behind him. When he saw her, he also looked like he didn't care. And behind Di Tian, the Ice Emperor and the Devil Emperor had looks of fury on their faces when they saw the actions of the Metal Emperor. He also wanted to welcome them and have a good fight with the Metal Emperor. At this moment, Di Tian grabbed their arms. Looking at them, there should be something wrong. Seeing him, it was not to the extent of not saying a word. He should see how Senior would deal with it. If there was anything strange about them, only Senior could resolve it. At this moment, Di Tian also turned to look at Xiao Changtian. Xiao Changtian looked at the Metal Emperor flying towards him. He was also a little excited. He had vaguely heard those cultivators discussing just now. This person seemed to be a big shot. It seemed that they were here to look for him. In that case, Fuqian had really been chosen. With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian waved his hand at Fuqian. Fuqian, why don't you go up and welcome them? Hearing Xiao Changshan's words, Fuqian also nodded at him. All right, master. Chapter 481, Taiji Fist, 1. Divine Realm. On the square in front of the Drunken Immortal restaurant, Fu Tian looked at the Metal Emperor flying towards him. Just as he was about to attack, a voice slowly sounded in Fuqian's mind. Brat, Master is cultivating his heart in the mortal world. Let me do it. Hearing this voice, Fuqian also stopped the gathering of true essence in his body. Then the Chaos Ant slowly poked its head out from Xiao Changshan's shoulder. Looking at the 5 people in the air, the silver light on the 2 antennae flashed. Whoosh! A spatial fluctuation flashed across the world. Spatial imprisonment. Under everyone's gaze, the Metal Emperor, the Wood Emperor and the other 3 landed in front of Xiao Changtian and the others. As their figures landed on the ground, the Metal Emperor and the others stared at Di Tian with wooden eyes, wanting to attack him as well. However, no matter how hard he struggled, his body could not move forward at all. Seeing the Metal Emperor and the others land beside him, Xiao Changshan's face lit up. It seemed that they were here to welcome Fuqian. With this thought in mind, Xiao Changtian also wanted to walk over and talk to them. Senior. At this moment, a sweet female voice slowly sounded in Xiao Changshan's ears. Xiao Changtian heard this voice and stopped in his tracks. He turned around and saw Huoling slowly walking over. Seeing Huoling Xiao Changtian waved at him. He was facing so many cultivators from the fire sect alone. To be honest, he was still a little nervous about giving Fuqian to them as a disciple. With Huoling as an acquaintance, Xiao Changtian was naturally very happy. Huoling came to Xiao Changshan's side and covered her chest. Huoling breasts moved up and down as she said to Xiao Changtian, Senior, I finally found you. After Huoling disappeared from the floating island, her strength was still weak. They were also assigned to other places in the square. With the Li Fire Sect's strength, they wanted to find Xiao Changshan's position in this vast crowd. It was easier said than done. Huoling bumped into the crowd and finally saw Xiao Changtian. Seeing Huoling Xiao Changtian asked her slowly, Miss Huoling is there any rule for the Li Fire Sect to accept disciples who pass the test? Huoling found Xiao Changtian and was delighted. Hearing Xiao Changshan's words, he was stunned. Senior was indeed unfathomable. He even knew that the Li Fire Sect was going to open up outer sect disciples to enter the inner sect. Huoling said to Xiao Changtian slowly, Senior, when the Li Fire Sect accepts disciples, they naturally first need the disciples to demonstrate their strength so that they can choose a master. The biggest difference between Li Fire sect inner sect disciples and outer sect disciples was that they were all disciples of the Li Fire sect. Every inner sect disciple had their own unique master. Hearing Hua Ling'er's words, Xiao Changtian placed his hand under his chin. Then he took a step forward and did a horse stance. Waving his arms in the air, he displayed the authentic Taiji fist in the air. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Di Tian and the others stared at Xiao Changtian as they held their breaths. Is Senior using a spirit skill? In their eyes, Xiao Changshan's every move was natural. Every time his arms swept through the air, they could feel the spiritual energy in the air slowly flowing. At this moment, Xiao Changtian seemed to have become the master of the world. This is a peerless intent realm, but even with my eyesight I can't see through it. To be able to see such a true intent, we can die without regrets. On the square, the Dao protectors of the hot shots were all attracted by Xiao Changshan's actions. Some of the powerful guardians looked at Xiao Changtian with tears in their eyes. Only they themselves knew that those true intents were the power of Heavenly Dao. Heavenly Dao was one of the most mysterious and unfathomable powers. He did not expect that someone in the divine realm actually grasped it. It seemed that this person was the person from the Heavenly Gate in the Drunken Immortal restaurant. The reward for these surviving hot shots was this heaven's will. Have you remembered it? This is an opportunity. A Dao protector looked at the hot shot cultivator beside him and urged. Those hot shots cultivators themselves carried the luck of a world. When Xiao Changtian waved it, they also felt it. At this moment, everyone was focused on Xiao Changtian. In the air, the divine eye also saw Xiao Changshan's movements. This is impossible. The divine eye said in disbelief. How could the power of the heavenly Dao appear on a mortal's body? That's a power that even the sect master has to look up to. Impossible. As he spoke, the divine eye involuntarily took a few steps back. At this moment, Xiao Changtian was also concentrating on his Taiji fist. He punched the sky with both fists, and then his hands slowly landed on his abdomen. Bang, bang, bang. The moment Xiao Changtian swung his fist, the divine eye in the air also widened its pupils. Bang. Then the divine eye spat out a mouthful of blood. His body fell backward. Seeing the divine eye's appearance, the few golden armored guards hurriedly walked over. He supported the divine eye with both hands. Divine Eye Elder, are you all right? Take me away quickly. This person can't be my enemy. Looking down at Xiao Changtian, he clutched his chest and said to the golden armored guard. He couldn't tell if Xiao Changtian was human or something else. When the golden armored guard heard the divine eye's words, he hurriedly brought him away. Although they didn't see Xiao Changshan's movements, they were still shocked. However, he could also feel a powerful aura surging between heaven and earth. They had come to the divine world a few times. This time they must have been cursed. After Divine Eye and the others left, Xiao Changtian slowly exhaled. Then he slowly said to Hua Ling'er behind him, Miss Hua Ling'er, what do you think of this Taiji fist? Taiji fist didn't have any particularly powerful power. However, it was really good to use it to maintain one's health. Xiao Changtian had no choice. The system had not given him any spirit skills for so many years. This Taiji fist was already the best Wu technique that he could teach Futian. He just didn't know if he was showing off in front of these cultivators. Hua Ling'er was still immersed in Xiao Changshan's fist technique. Hearing Xiao Changshan's words, he didn't react. Xiao Changtian saw that everyone was staring at him, so he walked to the side. He was only performing Taiji fist. Was there a need to stare at him? Moreover, this group of cultivators probably wouldn't put Taiji fist in their eyes. As he thought about this, Xiao Changtian heard Hua Ling'er's voice. Chapter 482. Who is Senior? Is he someone you can deal with? _L Divine Realm. On the square in front of the Drunken Immortal restaurant, Xiao Changtian looked at Hua Ling'er in front of him and waved his hand at Futian. Pointing at Futian beside him, Xiao Changtian said to Hua Ling'er slowly, Miss Hua Ling'er, the Taiji fist I just performed is one of the moves of Futian's society. What do you think? Futian came to Xiao Changshan's side. After hearing Xiao Changshan's words, he was deep in thought. His humanoid book had not broken through for a long time, and he did not have any direction to break through. After seeing Xiao Changshan's Taiji fist, he vaguely found a direction. Hua Ling'er was at a loss when she heard Xiao Changshan's words. The Taiji fist that Xiao Changtian had just displayed was the most profound fist technique that she had ever seen in her life. With her eyesight, how could she possibly understand this set of fist techniques? Then Hua Ling'er slowly said to Xiao Changtian, Senior, this fist technique is extremely profound. After thinking for a while, Huoling could only say this. Hearing Huoling words, Xiao Changtian was also delighted. He continued to ask her slowly, "Then Miss Huoling, can Fuqian join your Li Fire sect?" Huoling was stunned when she heard that Xiao Changtian wanted Fuqian to join the Li Fire sect as a disciple. Then he raised his hands and waved at Xiao Changtian. Could this senior be joking with him? With the Li Fire sect's strength, how could they possibly teach a senior's disciple? When the other cultivators heard Xiao Changshan's words, they also looked at Huoling. Even Di Tian, who was more familiar with Xiao Changtian, couldn't see through him at this moment. When Xiao Changtian first followed the Li Fire sect, he thought that he was hiding his identity. But now it seemed that this was not the case. Could it be that there was something in the Li Fire sect that they did not know about? At this moment, the cultivators present also remembered the Li Fire sect in their hearts. At the very least, they knew that the Li Fire sect had befriended a powerful senior. Xiao Changtian saw Huoling waving at him. What? Was this telling him that Fuqian was unqualified? With this thought in mind, he continued to speak to Huoling. Miss Huoling, are you sure? Huoling nodded without hesitation. How could she dare to tell Xiao Changtian that she wanted Fuqian to take her in as a disciple of the Li Fire sect? If she were to say that their Li Fire sect had held up someone else's disciple, how would they explain it? Xiao Changtian saw Huoling nodding and sighed in his heart. It seemed that Miss Huoling was also taking care of her face in front of everyone just now. Taiji Fist is extremely profound. But in fact, Taiji Fist was a fist technique for health preservation. They did not have any offensive power at all, so how could they be valued by the Li Fire sect? It seemed like there was no hope for Fuqian to enter the Li Fire sect. With that thought in mind, Xiao Chang did not blame Huoling for anything. He merely glanced at her before bringing Fuqian towards Di Tian and the others. After all, this was understandable. The cultivation world was filled with fighting and killing. Taiji Fist did not have much power, so it was normal for them to look down on it. Then Xiao Changtian slowly said to Fuqian, "Fuqian, do you want to enter the Li Fire sect?" Hearing Xiao Changshan's words, Fuqian replied without hesitation, "Fuqian only wants to follow Master forever." Seeing Fuqian's innocent face, he did not hesitate at all. Xiao Changtian didn't have any other thoughts. This Fuqian was different from the others. They all thought about how to cultivate. He was all-powerful in the cultivation world. However, Fuqian wanted to follow him and wait for death. After arriving at Di Tian's side, Xiao Changtian slowly spoke, "Di Tian, we're going back now." Since there was no hope for Fuqian to join the Li Fire sect, he did not want to continue staying among this group of cultivators. When Di Tian heard Xiao Changshan's words, he also slowly spoke, "Senior, I still have some things to deal with." Staring at the Metal Emperor and the others before him, Di Tian didn't want to leave with Xiao Changtian. Xiao Changtian followed Di Tian's gaze and sighed. He patted Di Tian's shoulder. Wasn't Di Tian looking at the seniors of the Li Fire sect? Di Tian had his own fortuitous encounters to fight for. He didn't want to disturb him. Then Xiao Changtian left the square with Fuqian. On the square, wherever Xiao Changtian passed, the cultivators looked at him with great respect and made way for him. However, Xiao Changtian didn't notice this at all. If Fuqian failed to take him as his master, he would have suffered a great loss this time. After Xiao Changtian left, the cultivators looked at each other. Did you see that? When Senior left, he seemed to be unhappy. That's right. Could it be that Senior has some wish that he can't fulfill? As he spoke, everyone's eyes were also looking at the Drunken Immortal building. There was a crack in the Drunken Immortal restaurant. It was said that it was caused by Senior's disciple. Senior's disciple was ambushed by the Sacred Dragon Empire and the Green Sword Pavilion in the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Moreover, Azure Peak and the old servant from the Sacred Dragon dynasty had spoken rudely to him just now. Senior, could it be? With this thought in mind, everyone turned their gazes towards the forces of the Green Sword Pavilion and the Sacred Dragon dynasty. Senior just gave us a great opportunity. Everyone knows what to do, right? At that moment, some voices slowly sounded from the crowd. At this moment, the prestige of the Sacred Dragon Empire and the Azure Sword Pavilion could no longer suppress them. The old servant from the Sacred Dragon dynasty and Azure Peak looked at the cultivators who were slowly approaching them. At this moment, his expression was solemn as he stared at them and slowly said, "What are you doing? Senior, just let us go." If they were to face one of them alone, they could win completely. However, facing so many forces, they had no chance of winning. At this moment, a guardian slowly said to the two of them, "What are you talking about? Senior let you off, but we didn't say we would let you off." As they spoke, those cultivators wanted to attack Azure Peak and the others. Who is Senior? Is he someone you can deal with? Following that, the cries of the cultivators of the Green Sword Pavilion and the Sacred Dragon Dynasty could be heard from the square. At this moment, on Xiao Changshan's shoulder, the Chaos Ant's two antennae also flashed with silver light. Following that, the Metal Emperor and the others who were standing on the plaza felt the spatial energy that was restraining them slowly dissipate. Their bodies regained their freedom. At this moment, their eyes had already regained their clarity as they stared at Tion. Their gazes flickered as they knelt down in unison. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.